I grew up and was educated in Utah, Salt Lake City. Utah, there weren't a lot of Lutherans, and I found out that in Nebraska, the place was lousy with them. So I had a lot of choices, but I lived in the area and I stopped by and I met Pastor Frank Reisinger and just kind of started coming.
And initially I went to a different church, but I kept looking because I wasn't totally satisfied. I was happy that there was a pretty decent music program, and that was one of the things that drew me. The pastor's wife, Carol Hawkinson, and I both sang in the opera chorus together. So, we developed a friendship through that.
I moved to Omaha in 1978 and moved into a neighborhood in the area, and started looking for a church, and we stopped at Lord of Love here, and they were in an interim period, and Harry Nas was preaching, and I made a comment to somebody about how great a preacher he was, and they said, well, he's not a pastor, he's just one of our members. And it was pretty amazing to me, and I thought, that's the kind of people they have up here. I think I want to be a part of it.
Well, Deb and I moved to Omaha from Sioux Falls in the mid-1979, and we lived in the apartments that are just up from the church. And so we were looking for a church, and this was handy, so we stopped in at Lord of Love, and right away we were hooked by great music, good fellowship with people were very welcoming. We came that first day and we have not left.
Well, my wife and I had moved into the apartments right across the street. Common story to a lot of people here. And my dad was always picking on me and saying, I see you're still on our church register. Hey, you haven't joined your own church yet? And finally one day I told Deb, right across the street's this church, let's go check it out. And of course, the same story everybody has. Lord of Love was immediately warming, welcoming, invited to a lot of different things. Deb and I had been joined about 2 months when we found out she was pregnant. And I kept thinking in the back of my mind, great, now everybody thinks we joined just because she was pregnant. But no, actually, we joined first.
We both have a passion for music, and we started to participate as early as we could. There was a midweek worship, probably during Advent, and Janet Oakey, a member here at the time, she played a horn solo as part of that Advent worship, and I introduced myself to her, and then she introduced me to other people. They were other brass players, and they asked me the next year if I would direct the group prepare the group for Easter. And that started my time as brass director. We play a lot of stuff because we have that type of musicianship available. And I'm just continually surprised by the level of performance that these amateurs are able to perform. It humbles me to probably be the least accomplished musician in the bunch.
Oh boy, I've participated in all sorts of things here, and one time I made a list of them. It was over 50 things. Well, men's ministry actually came with me from Minnesota. After about a year, I said, Lord of Love should have a men's ministry. The next Sunday, I'm looking in the bulletin, and there was an announcement that said, anybody that's interested in starting a men's ministry, come to Tom Olson's house with this address for breakfast Wednesday morning.
I think in many ways during the 80s, we weren't satisfied with just the status quo. That's the way we've always done it. Wasn't a phrase then. It was, we looked at it, we had some innovative things that were happening in worship. We had to address an issue, which was when's appropriate time for communion to be served to our young people. And there was a study that happened, and that's where we have basically all age communion came out of that study. There weren't very many congregations that were doing that within the United States at the time. It was thoughtful people, looking at the Bible and other guides for how that should take place. We all take on this responsibility of raising that person in the faith, providing the values that we share, providing Christian education, providing opportunities to serve. When we live our lives as Jesus taught us, we become examples that trigger those things in our young people.
The core of what the church is that we're intended to love one another, and that's what we do is, through our actions and through the things we do, we show our love for each other. We're a fun-loving group, so we razz each other. One of our rules is that what's said at men's breakfast stays at men's breakfast until you die, and then the gloves are off. The older guys at the time, they got together and they said, well, we're going to create the Old Farts Club. And so they had these rules. You got to be 60 and you got to attend the breakfast or whatever. And that made you an old fart. On my 60th birthday, I come in the church and they sing happy birthday to me. Brian Shinrock comes up to me and he says, I've been waiting for this day. And he hands me this little gift bag. And in the gift bag was a hat that said Old Fart.